Hi, I'm Corey from IDParts.com. In this video, we'll be replacing the door lock module in a Mark IV Volkswagen Golf. So for this job, we'll need a few tools. First, a set of Torx screwdrivers. Second, both a long and a stubby Phillips head screwdriver. We'll also need a set of triple square bits and an assortment of hooks and picks to deal with the door cables and that kind of stuff. We're going to be installing an OEM driver's door lock module. We also have a full set of door clips here, so that when we're ready to reassemble, we can put in new clips and reassemble properly. As always, all these items are available on IDParts.com, and we've got links to them in the comments section. While we're dealing with a driver's side door here, the procedure is largely identical for the passenger side door, as well as the rear doors, even though this car doesn't have one on the four doors, the rear doors. And obviously the first step is to open the door itself, and we need also to roll down the window. All right, on a two-door Golf, the first thing we need to do is take the window crank off, slide that piece up, pull it off. Secondly, we have to pry off the door handle. We've got a plastic kind of pry tool. We'll insert it right back here. And it'll just click right off. There we go. It's out. With that out of the way, there's going to be two Phillips head screws that are right in here. So we'll take our long reach Phillips head screwdriver. On a car with power windows, we'll have to first remove the inside of the door handle by pushing it towards the door. Then we can pry out the entire panel in one piece. And we'll flip it over and we will disconnect the electrical connector for the power windows. With that out of the way, we will remove the three Phillips head screwdrivers that hold the door panel to the door skin. We'll grab those two out of there. Next, we're going to grab the small Phillips head screw, which is right here on the top corner, with our stubby Phillips head screwdriver. After removing the three Phillips head screws that were here and here, we have to remove the three Torx screws that are on the side of the door. Now with all the bottom screws removed as well, we can start popping off the panel. We want to start in one of the corners and just with a short series of quick kind of pulls, see if we can get a clip to release. There we go. Got the clip, and now we'll go around. Once all the clips are popped out like that, we have to go behind the door and unclip all the electrical connectors. First thing we need to grab is the door, fuel door, and the rear hatch connectors. Those are right there. Then all the way up here, we have the door lock or the mirror adjuster piece. That'll pop out right there as well. And then all the way over here, don't forget this one, is the little thing for the door light. That'll pop right out too. All right, now that we've got all the electrical connectors disconnected, all the screws are out, we can pull up on the door panel and remove it from the door. All right, now with this out, we have to detach all the cables that are here. One for the door latch itself. Now with the door panel slightly out of the way, and if you have an electrical, or if you have electric power mirrors, you can disconnect the cable that goes there, and you can actually take the whole door panel and move it to the side. On a car with manual windows, manual mirrors, I'm sorry, I keep messing that up, these cables are kind of hard to remove, so we're going to leave them in place and just work around them. We also need to get this black plastic plug out. There'll be a screw behind it that we'll need to loosen. With that back screw loose, we can now wiggle out the door lock mechanism. Like that. Okay, so we just took this 10mm ratchet and we undid all the small bolts that held in the metal door panel in. After that, what we did is we took our plastic kind of splonger tool and we went around and we pulled apart the gasket that is between the door and the metal bracket here. This isn't adhesive, but over time, because it's been in this car for now 15 years, it has developed that adhesion, so that was kind of hard to take off. Before we take that last bolt out, we're going to disconnect the window from the regulator. Pop off these little black covers here. The little sight windows, and then we want to rotate the window until the arms have become visible. So we can see right there the bolt that clamps the window to the regulator. Now we're going to take our 10mm wrench and we're going to unscrew that bolt. We don't need to take it all the way out, we just want to loosen it. I'll also do it for the other one here. To see if we loosen it enough, we will pull up on the window, and it is free. And so we'll get some duct tape and we'll hold the window up. With the window taped up, we need to go to the handle and disconnect the small cable that attaches the door lock module to the handle. We've got this one last bolt in place, which we'll just unscrew with our fingers. Now that we know that the door is free and we can move, we'll actually just hook it back into place. And we're going to take out these two triple head bolts that are at the end here. Once that bolt's out, you'll see that the door lock will drop. Once all those bolts are removed, we can slide the door lock module and the door panel kind of crooked. And here we are. To take the door panel off, the door lock module off, we'll have to disconnect this bottom clip. We'll also have to disconnect where the door lock pin goes. That kind of turns out sideways. And then finally, we need to disconnect the cable that the door pull connects to. Do that by engaging the lock mechanism, pulling on this cable here. And then you'll see that how it holds in is there's a flat section, and we want to turn it so that it lines up with the hole. And wiggle it out. And this part pops out. All right, here's the old module outside of the car. I got the new module right here. First thing we're going to do is engage the door pull like we did last time. Insert it horizontally. Then clip it in. There we go. That in place. We're also going to catch the door lock pin here. So we've got the door pin hooked in. We've also got the cable for the pull latch locked in. But before we put it back together, it's important you don't forget this little guy. This thing here, we pulled off the old module, and this is what connects the door to the outside handle. Now with that in place, we'll put it back in the car. It's going to be kind of hard, so what we do is we use a pick lock tool to pull it forward, that way we can line up those screws. So with the door lock module in place and the two screws just holding it in place, what we'll do is we're going to test the functionality of the door lock module before we bolt anything else together. You can just take a screwdriver, and first it looks like it's currently closed, so we'll pull on this to see the handle. Closed, open, and the light turned on. That means this module is working great. So, knowing that, we can start putting it back together. We've got those two screws in the side. The next thing we'll have to do is reattach the lock cylinder to the front of the door. Okay, so now we've got to fish out that cable that we attached to the door module earlier. This can be kind of tricky, this part here. You have to insert this the end of that cable into the slot of the handle. It's hard to get it quite right, so you might want to put it in and pull it, see how it feels. It doesn't feel too good. We'll go a little tighter. That feels better. Also may be helpful to actuate the locking mechanism a couple of times. Next, we'll insert the lock module. The handle has to be out for the lock module to go in, like that. Then we'll take our T20 screwdriver and we'll secure that small bolt that was inside this little hole here. Actuate it a few times to be sure we like it. Before we get the window back in place, we're going to reattach all the 10mm bolts to the metal frame. That way the metal frame's in position when we drop the window down. All right, we've got all the bolts tightened down, and now what we need to do is roll up the window until we see the regulator clips in this hole. Yep, there they are. There's also another hole over here. It's also in there. So what we'll do now is we will bring these down a bit, and we'll untape the window and slide the window down into those spots. Okay, we're in both those places. We'll roll up the window a bit here. It helps if you roll and press down a little bit just to be sure it's all the way in. Looks to be all the way down. You can see that the rubber bushing only goes down about that far, so the window has bottomed out in the rubber bushing there. We'll tighten up those 10mm bolts that are inside. Works pretty well. Pop these caps back on. Now, before we put the door back on, we're going to replace these black clips that hold the door in place. That way the door won't rattle and it'll be more secure this time around. These just pop, they slide right out, and you'll see that they were slid into that little middle groove there. So when you put the new ones in, you can line it up with that middle groove again. Pop into place. Okay, with those new clips in, we're going to line the door panel up and reattach the pull handle to open the door. Hook that in there, and then you want to get that section into there and push it and clip it in. That'll keep it secure. Once you're done with that part, get this lock pin into position. Okay, once the top of the door is locked into that channel, we'll go underneath the door and we'll attach all the electrical connectors and be sure nothing is in the way. I just went through and I connected all those connectors in the back, all the electrical connectors. Double check, triple check. If you have a friend, have them check too, because it's really easy to miss one, kind of in all the mess of wiring back there. The one that I always miss is this corner light one. It's usually hidden out of the way. I'm always concentrating on these switches here, the ones for the door lock. Test everything as well before you put the car back in. That works. That works. That way we know that everything's together. This little LED light is also easy to forget. It's a tiny little connector that lives over here. That's not a big deal. It just won't flash if you don't plug it back in. With all those things plugged back together, I'm going to now push the door into place and try to get those clips to clip in. Next, I'll do the 2 Phillips head screws. Now we'll do the 3 Torx screws on the bottom as well. Reattach the door handle, the window crank. So we're good. And finally, we'll pop this back into place as well. All right, one final test from inside the car to be sure it works. There we go. We're all done with this module replacement, thank God. Of all the jobs, this is probably my least favorite to do. It's a lot of messing around with cables and wires and awkward positioning, and it just kind of is no fun. Thankfully though, we should only have to do it once on a car because the replacement module should last forever. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our ID Parts YouTube channel to get all the latest videos right in your inbox. We also have the ID Parts Post, which is kind of like a blog, post.idparts.com. We've got a lot of good reading stuff there. As always, if you have a question, email us, sales@idparts.com, and everything in this video that you've seen today is available for purchase on IDParts.com. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.